Today I'm going to be going through the tan of a cone head mini tube. I'm going to be using it as a cascade pattern. Okay, so I have 1.8 mini tube, liner tube, and then I've got my junction tubing, which I'm going to add on, and I'm going to just be careful that I'm tying on the junction tube so it's fixed so it doesn't slip off, but I'm going to try and keep the profile as slim as possible because I'm thinking about this for low water. Now some of that junction tubing will come through, but I wouldn't be worrying too much about it. Okay, I'm not going to bother doing a tag just for the size of the fly that it is, but it will have a green butt on it. So I've just got some pre-stacked, ready to go bucktail, and this is obviously orange, hot orange and yellow mixed. Typical for the Cascade, okay. Doesn't have to be totally mixed, you know, some people prefer a taper. Mine is mixed and stacked somewhat. Just, as you can see, I keep on taking some out. I don't want to be too heavy. Okay, so I'm going to just tie this on a little bit back from the tail. Okay, I'm going to just do a pinch and loop to start with, nice and light. And then a couple of light wraps. Then I'm going to get my super glue. And I'm going to put it on about 1/2 inch of the thread. And then I'm going to just tie in that tail. So the super glue will be holding it and it won't splay. Okay, then just bring your thread back up. Get our scissors and neaten up. Okay. Then I'm going to get one bit of crystal flash. There's quite a bit of flash on this, so I'm just going to do several different types of flash, but nothing too overloading as such. So I've got 2 small bits of pearl crystal flash. Okay, and then I'm going to get some green floss. So this is, I think this is Glow Bright number 12. Okay, so I'm going to just double that on, and that's going to create my butt. Okay, and then a couple of turns of that there doubled. Okay, if you wanted, you could put a bit of varnish on it here. I'm not going to bother. It obviously won't last as long, but I'm going to try this year the fish without varnishing the tags to see if it'll make much of a difference. Probably won't, but could all be in the head. Okay, so I'm going to put on wire then underneath, and this is going to create a rib. Okay, and then above that wire, I'm going to put on some silver holographic. Okay. And then before I start wrapping them, I'm going to put a little bit of super glue on to give some durability. And that's only on about 1.5 inches of the thread, if even. Okay. Bring that down to where I think the silver is going to stop, and where the black will start. Okay, then I'm just going to get my thread and secure that in a couple of turns. Then get your scissors and just neaten things up. Now I have some black floss, and I'm going to just double that back again. Secure that in a few turns, and then bring my thread up towards the head. Okay, you'll probably see I lick my fingers a lot whenever I'm doubling floss just to get a better grip of it, and so it doesn't twist too much and lose fibres. Okay, then we'll just finish that off. A few turns secured in. Okay, then we'll just get our silver wire. So first one's round the butt, and then if you can, follow up with another 3 or 4 turns. Okay. Oh, and again, that's why I use wire. I let it slip, but it's still held in, saving me having to wrap it up all over again. Okay, then I'm just going to twist my wire off and cut off the floss. Okay, so now we just put on another little bit of flesh here. So this time I'm using another one strand of flesh. This is going to be going on underneath. And again, that's doubled back. Just to go in within the wing. Wing's going to be black fox or any black hair. It's entirely up to yourself. This is a new patch and I'm not happy with it, to be honest with you. It's got a few, yeah, the hair's not as straight as normal. Okay, but we'll make do. It's a lot longer, but okay, so I'm going to just remove the underfur and then remove whatever the shiny hairs basically are going to be the guard hairs. Okay. I'm going to get this to go back to probably just into the tail a little bit. Okay, pinch and loop. A couple of turns. Okay, and then I'm going to trim off the excess. Okay. Last bit of flesh is going to be just what you could call it angel hair. It's basically craft fibres and it's just a little bit of blue. And we've got about 4 or 5 fibres and then a doubling back. So I have about twice that then. Okay, and then just try and cut them with different lengths. What you can do is you can run your scissors along. Okay, and it'll naturally cut at different sections. Okay. Then we have our hackles. So the first one's going to be it's going to be yellow. I'm going to use fluorescent yellow here. Okay, because this fly is going to be used for fresh fish in low water. So I'm just going to break off the tip there. Ensure that you have wax on your thread. Also see a little fibre that I didn't cut earlier. Okay, then just tie in that cut. Bring it back and tie in on top of it. Okay. And probably 2 wraps would do for this size of fly. So what I do is I remove what I suspect will be the excess after the next wrap. Okay, and I always get this stage of a Cascade and think, you don't even need an orange hackle, and you don't. You could finish it at that if you wanted. Okay, and obviously the raw Cascade is a very popular fly, which is similar to this. Okay, so next we'll put on hot orange hackle. Okay. And just as before, just spread those fibres and break off the tip. And again, a bit of wax on the thread. Never goes amiss. And I have tied in at that break, fold it over again, and that doubles the stock and ensures that this reduces the risk of any slippage. Okay, and I'm probably only going to do 1 turn of this because I like that yellow showing through. And everything underneath as well. Okay, so I'm going to just remove the excess of what I think after 1 turn. Okay. Then a few turns to secure it in again. You could, if you wanted, double it back again. Bear in mind you have a cone here, so you're going to have protection off the hackle. Okay, and at this stage then, before the super glue goes on, check your cone. Okay, so I have a silver cone here I'm going to use. I'll just make sure it doesn't impact the fibres too much. And I'm very happy with that there. So, okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I could very easily whip finish that there. You'd have to do it by hand, just because it says the tube. But instead what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use thread wraps of glue. This finishes off the fly, but it also gets it ready for the cone at the same time. Okay, then we get our cone, just feed it onto the tube. Give it a wee second to dry into that glue. Okay, once that's dried then, after a minute or so, I just take the tubing, I just cut off the leave about 2 mil. Okay. In fact, that cone still hasn't hardened in super glue. It's not essential anyway because the cone's going to hold it with the tubing, but I just burr that front nice and slow. If you do it too fast, it'll light. Okay, and then I put it back onto the needle, and that makes sure that that hole stays opened and it won't melt over. Okay, I'll just put it back on for you just to have a final look. And that is your low water mini tube cone head Cascade, folks. Hopefully you found that useful. As always, if you did, share it with your friends, give it a like, subscribe, whatever you want to do, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much, all the best.